Okay, guys, so we're going to be talking about proportions here. So, just quickly, what I want you to do is just fill this in. All right? Fill in some that work. So, like 1/2, what are some, just to cover what we're going to be talking about. So, put some numbers in here that make this true, right? Remember what that equal sign means, that they are equivalent, right? So, that means that whatever's in here should equal whatever's here, right? Should equal whatever this is. Should equals whatever this is. Should equals whatever this is. So what are some numbers that would work there? Okay, you fill that in. What are some other ratios that equal 1/2? Fill it in. I'm going to hit pause here. You fill it in. Let's see how you do. And then go ahead and do the next one. Okay, so here's the ones that I came up with. So maybe some of yours work. Maybe you went simple and you said 2 4s, 3 6, 4 8s. I don't know. Look at it, but there's a way we could check these, and that's what we're going to talk about. Okay, you could check these, and you've learned this probably in school, but we could check to see if I'm correct, because I can put over here and say I have 1/2, and then I said that 1/2 was equal to 17/34. Okay, now a lot of you would tell me you've learned a rule called butterfly method, or so if I look here, 1 times 34, and if I look at this one, 2 times 17, they're equivalent, because 2 times 17 is 34, and 1 times 34 is 34. So these cross products, okay, these are the cross products, are equivalent if two proportions are equivalent. Okay, we're going to use that later. So basically what we have is a rule that says that if we have A over B equals C over D, and if that's true, then A times D is going to equal B times C. You want to write that down. We're going to use that a couple of times, okay? But you can also use that to check and see if you're right with these. So well, go ahead, do these, and fill these ones in. The first one's yours, and this one here you can put whatever you want in, but these are numbers you have to fill in. So fill those in, and let's go. So you're going to hit pause, fill these in, check and see if you're right, okay? Okay, so there's only a few of them that you had to do. So you had to get 12/20ths out of this one. You had to get 9/15ths out of this one. You had to get 51/85ths out of this one. But the rest of them, the other two, you could have put anything in. Now, and so one of the ways you can check is, again, use that cross product. So let me just look at 3/5 is equal to 51/85. Okay, and so I do the cross products, right? So I'm going to say 5 times 51, and I'm going to do 3 times 85. 3 times 85 is 255, and 5 times 51 is 255. So the cross products are equivalent when the numbers are the same. So if you check yours, go ahead and check yours and make sure those cross products are the same. It's going to be important for you to understand that for the next couple chapters. Okay, so now what we're going to talk about is ratios, right? So you're going to write out ratios, and you're going to write out ratios two ways. You can either write it as this way, where you have a line, so it starts looking like a fraction, right? Or you could write it like a semicolon, or you write a colon in there, and then what you do is you put the two numbers here, okay? So you're either going to have A over B, or you're going to have A to B, right? And it says if a school has 60 female teachers, so you really want to get to where you're looking at asking yourself, or am I talking about parts? Am I talking about A and B, or am I talking the total, right? Because if I have part A plus part B, that's going to equal my total, right? in a lot of these situations. So really where you find out what you're trying to compare is you look at the question. Okay, you want to identify what your parts are, or if they give you the total in the part. So here's my part A, here's my part B, right? You're going to want to label things so you don't get confused. When I look at the first one, the question they're asking me is, what's the ratio of numbers male teachers to female teachers? Okay, so that's an important word right there, that to, right? That's key, because with that, that's telling you, that's basically what this is, right? Or what this is. And so that means they want us to put male teachers first. This is our A. And then we have, well, so we're going to look at this, and I guess we're going to change that and say, they're going to tell us A to B, and it's going to be male teachers to female teachers. So we have to be careful of that. So if I look, my male teachers are my A, right? And my female teachers are the B. So I'm going to say that I have 20 male teachers to 60 male teachers. Okay? Okay, now that answer is correct. You understand what you're writing. We have to do it in simplest form. So if we looked at 20 over 60, right, then really that's 2 times 10 over 6 times 10. So the 10 reduces, right? And then you'd have, that's 1 times 2 over 3 times 2. So the 2's reduce, which means it's 1 to 3. So this would really be written as 1 to 3. That's a 1 to 3 ratio. Okay. So first step, you got to know how to write it. You got to look at the question and see what they're asking you to compare. You got to write it either as a proportion or as a fraction. And if they tell you to write it as a proportion, write it as a proportion, or write it as with a colon, right? And then when you're looking at this next one, you got to look and see, well, so what are they asking me? So they're asking me, write the ratio of female teachers to total number of teachers. Okay, so this is where students make a mistake. So you got to ask yourself, A was the female teachers. So we said A was, so we have the female teachers, which is 60 teachers, right? Plus we have 20 male teachers, so that's 20. So it means our total is 80, okay? So what that means is they want us to have the ratio of, they want us to write it as the female teachers, which was 60 to 80, okay? That's, so, and you might put down female to total underneath here, so you keep it labeled what you're trying to do. I would, to keep myself safe, right? Okay, so now when I write that out as a fraction, right, I'm going to say that's 60 over 80. And some of you see right away, now if you have your hundreds chart out, you can see that 60 is, right, 2 times 2 times 3 times 5, and 80 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. So I just simplify it. It's the 2's and the 5's, which means I'm left with what's on the bottom. On the top is 3, and what's left on the bottom is 2 times 2, which is 4, right? So here you can see there's 2 ways you can simplify, and I mean, I really don't care which way you do it, but you would say that's written in, therefore, as 3 to 4. And you just got to make sure you're being careful. I would even tell you that you want to write down, you're putting that female teachers to total here. Now you want to, this chapter and the next chapter, you want to do as much labeling as you can. So, okay, so that's how you do it. So the question is, why don't you do this one if you want more practice? And I guess I'll do it this way, guys. We'll talk about these extra problems in class, but I don't want this video to take too long. So those of you that think you need some extra practice with it, well, do these. You're going to get opportunities for extra practice on the Alex assignment. You're watching, if you're on Monday, you're watching this video right now, right? In class. So watch it, take notes, go ahead and do these two, and we'll see how well you do. I'll put answers up at the end, but I'm going to go to the next section. So the key on this one, though, remember what they say. They say that there's 7 boys and the rest are girls. So that means this right here, that's the total. Okay. And you got to figure out if there's 33 students and there's 7 boys, how many are there that are girls in that class? And then you answer these questions, right? So if I were you, I'd be writing over here, there's boys, girls, total, right? And just figure out how you're going to figure out how many boys there are, how many girls there are, how many total. Just show your work on it and then put it together and simplify. The real simplification is that's what the work is really with these. Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to the next one, but those are some hints on. Okay. So with this one, I mean, you're looking and they're going to ask you in your assignments, they're going to ask you to look at the ratios and understand something, right? So you have apples and to oranges. So you got to understand that these are your apples, these are your oranges. And of course, we said you're going to have to know the total, right? So if you look at your total, if you're adding them all together, you're saying that the total equals the apples plus the oranges, right? Which means our total is 8 plus 7. So the total number is 15, right? That's how many pieces of fruit we have totally. So that's a good thing to remember, right? As you're looking at this, I would do that. And you can always check none of the above. If none of those are true, all they're saying is which one of these are true. So you have to remember you have 8 and 7, right? So when you look at these, you're looking to see, remember there's the apples are 8 and the oranges are 7. That's what they told you. So you're looking, matter of fact, you're kind of looking for the ones that don't work, right? Look to where they say they have 8 apples or 8 oranges. Because if it says 8 oranges, that must be wrong, right? So when I look at this one, this says 8 oranges and 7 apples. That's the reverse. So this one can't be it, right? Well, and then if I look at this one, this is 8 apples and 7 oranges. So that one works. When I look at this next one, it says we have 7 apples. But look, I'm supposed to have 8 apples. And then 8 oranges, so that one's wrong. So that one doesn't work. Right? Okay, and then I look, this one says 8 apples. That's right. And 7 oranges. That's right. So this one works. So what we said was these two don't work because the numbers don't match, and these two do work, right? Because the numbers do match, and we can't say none of the above. That's how you do that one. So, do your best on those when you see those come up. Now, guys, we already talked about how to do these. You're just going to write them out, and you're going to simplify the ratios. That's all you're doing. So take some practice with these. These are just some good extra practice. So you're going to say, this is 12 to 28. Don't forget your units. You got to make sure you're writing down your units because those are important. And so let's go. So just do these. Let's see if you can do these and simplify those. Go. Hit pause, do them. Let's see how you do. Okay, so here's those. I mean, basically, we did the same thing that we were doing up here, right? We were reducing. Hopefully you know what you're doing with that. I'm going to do this for you. If you don't know what you're doing with it, then you need more time with it, all right? Because we've talked about this before, but I don't want this video to be too long. So when I get to a point, when I get to the end of this, when I've shown you this last part, then what I'll do is I'll go back over these and show you how to do these, but you're done if you've got these for the answers. But if you didn't get these for the answers, my hope is you want to know how to do these right, so you'll watch the extended part of the video. Okay. All right, let's move on to this next section. Okay, so we're kind of assuming this is something you've already done. I just want to re-emphasize a couple of things. Whenever you're doing unit rates, we're talking about, we're going to wind up, no matter what we had over here on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, there's going to be a 1, and then whatever that unit is. So we're going to have however many units of the original, of the top, this number, this many units per 1 unit, okay? And so when we're going to look in, we're going to look for the word in or per, right? So it says how many miles did you ride in 1 hour, right? We look at the next one, every hour, that's a keyword, right? How much did he earn every hour? So that tells you what goes on the bottom, right? So, and a lot of times, time goes on the bottom, right? Per padlock. So we're going to have on the bottom padlocks, okay? And I personally teach you in class and here to go ahead and just write out the units to start with. So write out miles, because we're going miles in 4 hours, right? Dollars in 6 hours, so we're going to have dollars up here, right? The cost per padlock, so it's dollars again, right? Okay, so if I were you, I'd write out the units, and then if I were you, what I would do is write out what they ask us, just what's the original. So the original problem on this first one is if we have 24 miles in 4 hours. So write that down, 24 miles in 4 hours. Okay, so you separate out in units, and remember what you're trying to do is get 1 hour, right? So we're taking 1 hour. If you look, you had to divide this by 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. So that means you should divide this by 4, which gives you 6. And remember, you're talking about miles. If you don't write the units down, you can't have the credit. Okay? Just write that down over here. You have to write the units. If you don't write the units, you don't get the credit. Because I need to know you know what you're talking about. Okay? So again, this one, if I look, I'm talking about $300 in 6 hours. And I want to know how much in 1 hour. And that's all you're doing. This is that simple. You're going to divide this by 6, right? It's scale factor basically to get 1. So you got to divide this by 6 to get, well, that's going to be 6 times, and I don't care where you do that at. And that's 50. So that's $50 per hour. And then really, I want to see you answer it. If I give you a quiz on this, it's not from Alex. I definitely want to see you write down, he earned $50 per hour. Okay. You tell me you know what you just did. Okay. Do these two. Okay. Do these two. Hit pause. You're done with them when you're done with these two. Okay. And again, I'm just going to flash the answer up there. If you got them right, you're good. If not, and then you're done. If you know what you're doing, hey, I'm good with that. If you're good with that. Okay. So do those. If you feel like you need extra practice, that's why you'd watch the rest of the video. Okay. Okay. So do these two, hit pause, do these two, and see how you do. Okay, so when you look at these, you should have gotten on example 10 that you have $3.40 per padlock. And number 11 should have been the harder one, and it's 25 minutes per meter. If you got those, you're good. You know what you're doing. If you didn't get those answers, well, now you get to choose what you're going to do. You can watch the extended video and learn, or you come to class and ask questions. Now, on this Monday, I'm not going to be there. I'm still trying to fly in, but good luck. Okay, so if you're done with this, I mean, that's it. That's what we're doing. Okay, watch that video, see if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, well, then we'll move forward, and you can again hit pause, go and look at your notes, see if you can figure it out. Ask a neighbor, see if they can figure it out. If you can do what I just did, you got the homework easy. Okay. All right. Those of you who need the time on the extended video, well, keep playing and go back and let's take the notes. Okay, you're watching an extended video because you needed some understanding. Okay, look at this first one. This problem here, we have that there's 33 students in his class. That's the total. Okay, so we write that over here. Okay, and then it tells us there are 7 boys. So here we have, that's the number of boys. And I could say the total minus the number of boys equals the number of girls. So 33 minus 7 is 26. Okay, so if I were you, I'd be writing down as, I'm going to do boys to girls. So boys, colon, girls. I'd write that down below as I'm showing my work. And then I'd say, well, that's simple. I got 7 to 26. And that doesn't simplify. When I look at 7 over 26, 7 is a prime number. 26 doesn't go into it, so it can't reduce. Just in case you're not sure, 2 times 13 is 26. Nothing reduces. So this is as simple as it's going to get. 7 to 26. Okay? Then we want to know the number of boys to the total number of students, right? So we're going to say boys to total. Well, our total was 33, and our number of boys was 7. So our ratio is 7 to 33. And again, 7 doesn't go into 33, so it must be they're relatively prime. All right, so they're relatively prime, so it can't reduce. So that's my ratio. Okay. All right. So again, what you're doing is if you're struggling with this, you're writing down what your questions are and you're going back and checking them. Okay. Okay. If you had questions on how we got these answers, again, I'm going to go to a simple way. I'm going to say if you got your hundreds chart, you got it made, right? And if I look, I got 42 over 56, which 42 is 2 times 3 times 7, and 56 is 8 times 7, which is 2 times 2 times 2 times 7. I'm going to simplify the 7s and a 2. And again, this is 3 to 4. Because what I got left down here is 4, and there's only a 3 left up on top. Okay? And again, I'm going to do the same thing with these two. I mean, so if I'm looking at these, I'm going to see what they have in common, right? And I can see they have a 2 in common, and they have a 5 in common. What's left over on the top is a 4. What's left on the bottom is 7. I have to look at my units, make sure I'm using my units. That's a 4 kilograms for every 7 kilograms. Might be talking about a juice mixture, right? Okay, so again, I'm going to write these down. Okay, I'm going to write them down as a ratio so I could. And for me, I saw it pretty quick because there was that 50, right? And there's a 5 and a 0 here. So I'm pretty sure 50 goes into both. So when I simplify, I'm going to be looking and saying, well, the 50 comes out, that's a 1 to 30. Right? And again, that's a ratio right there, right? But we're also writing ratios like this. So it becomes 1 liter, because we had liters. Right? This is our number, this is our liters, and this is our followers. So we have 1 liter for every 30 followers. I mean, pause it, write down your questions. Again, I mean, I've spoken to some of your parents, and some parents have said, you know, our concern is how do we keep that pace? You hit pause when you want to. If this is going too fast, you write down a question. If you're not understanding something I'm saying, you write down a question and bring it to class. Leave it in a note, and I'll answer that question. You don't have to have your name on it. As long as it's a question about the math, I'd be glad to answer that. Okay, so when we look at these, again, this is you struggled with it, so if you're still not understanding it, you got to bring a question to class. Ask me after school. Ask me before school. Okay. When I look at this, what I said was I got dollars over padlocks, right? So we're doing unit rates, and I know I want 1 padlock. So really, what I'm going to do is I start out writing it out, saying, well, I know that I have $23.80 for 7 padlocks. And I have to remember that I'm trying to get to one padlock right on the bottom, right? So I'm going to divide this by 7, the denominator. So that means I'm also going to do the numerator divide it by 7. That means I'm going to do some long division. So when I'm looking at that first part, I'm saying, well, if it's $23 divided by 7, that's going to give me $3, right? Which is going to give me $21, which means I'm going to have $2.80 left over. Well, if I divide $2.80 divided by 7, I'm going to get that's going to be 40 cents, right? So that means it's $3.40 per padlock. That's all we're doing. This is basically scale factor, guys. You can do it another way. I'll show you another way later when we're talking about solving proportions. But this way works too. Okay, so when we set up the next one, this is where this one gets a little hard. I'm figuring some of you are going to struggle with this. But again, we write out our units. It says we're doing minutes per meter. So I'm going to have minutes per, right, meter. So if I look, that means they've said we've done 20 minutes in 4/5 of a meter. So I'm going to rewrite this as 20 minutes, 20 over 1, right, divided by 4/5. Which means I'm going to take 20 over 1, right, times 5/4. And so if I just multiply straight across, right, I'm going to get 100 fourths, which is 25. And I remember I have to go back and look and say that's 25, right? But I'm talking about minutes per meter. So I have 25 minutes per 1 meter, or 25 minutes per meter. That works too, okay? All right. And that's how we do those. Again, write down your questions, because I don't want this to take very long. But this was additional, right? Some of you already did it. You got the right answer. I'm just showing you how to do it. So the gist of this is that we're writing proportions out. You have to have your units come with questions. If you're not sure how to do these two problems, then you should be coming with questions. Look at every one of these that you didn't quite understand and take a yellow tab and write down a note. Write a note on a piece of paper and say, Mr. Bruno, I do not know how to do example number 6. I still don't understand. You don't have to put your name on it. Just slip it to me. Somehow. Get it to me where I can see it. And have somebody else bring it to me if you're afraid to ask a question. That's okay. All right, guys. Well, come with questions. Good luck on Alex. Okay. Have a good day.